What happens when you mix Chrisean Rock, Jason Lee, Cardi B, family feuds, and a sprinkle of Blueface drama? You don't just get a normal interview. Oh no, you get a nuclear meltdown disguised as conversation. Forget reality TV. Forget the Kardashians. Because this sit-down makes Keeping Up with the Kardashians look like reruns of Sesame Street. Jason Lee asked one simple question, and Chrisean Rock unleashed a storm so messy it could shut down the internet for a week. She spoke on her mom, her sister, her baby daddy, Cardi B, and of course, Blueface, the man who's been a walking headline since 2017, and when I tell you the tea was boiling hotter than McDonald's coffee. I mean, lawsuits could be hot. The internet wasn't ready, fans weren't ready, and honestly, I don't think Chrisean was ready either. This wasn't just an interview, this was a confessional, an expose, roast, and a therapy session rolled into one. And if you thought Chrisean Rock was chaotic before, you haven't seen anything yet. Buckle up, because this is the story that makes all other scandals look like bedtime stories. Welcome to the Chrisean Rock. Jason Lee explosion. The moment Chrisean Rock sat across from Jason Lee, you could almost hear the internet pulling up a chair with popcorn. Everyone knows that if Jason Lee is in the building, somebody's reputation isn't making it out alive. He doesn't do small talk. He doesn't do softballs. He asks the kind of questions that make celebrities sweat harder than a pastor. In a strip club, and Chrisean, she was ready to spill. Or at least she thought she was. The interview started simple, almost innocent. Jason leaned in, giving her that sly look he's perfected, and asked her about family, her career, her baby. Easy stuff, right? Wrong? Because Chrisean doesn't do easy. Within minutes, her words started hitting like stray bullets. She brought up Ronnie Taseki, Carlisa, the Blueface family tree that's messier than a Thanksgiving dinner with 3 exes and 1 baby mama. Suddenly, it wasn't an interview anymore, it was a verbal demolition derby. And Chrisean was behind the wheel without brakes. She didn't just hint at drama. She threw it in our faces like a reality show wine glass, talking about her mother. Carlisa Chrisean painted her as the villain of her story, comparing her parenting to a Netflix horror series. Mentioning her sister Taseki, the words were dipped in sarcasm, shaded so hard they needed SPF 100. By the time she got to Ronnie, it was less family talk and more battlefield update. This wasn't a family tree, this was a forest fire. But here's the part that broke the internet. When Jason pivoted to Cardi B, you could literally feel the air change. The same Cardi who has gone head-to-head with Nicki Minaj, who's survived Twitter wars that would have retired lesser celebs, suddenly became part of Chrisean's messy narrative. And the way Chrisean said it, she didn't whisper. She didn't dodge. She dropped Cardi's name with the casualness of ordering fries at a drive-thru. That's when fans knew this wasn't just gossip. This was going to be a cultural moment. And then, of course, Blueface. Because what's a Chrisean Rock story without her ex-fiancé, baby daddy, arch-nemesis, depending on the day? The way she spoke about him made it sound like their relationship was less romance and more demolition derby. Jason poked, and Chrisean exploded, spilling secrets, throwing shade, making revelations that had fans screaming. Did she really just say that? Reactions were instant. Twitter lit up faster than a Christmas tree in Times Square. Memes were born in real time. One viral tweet read, "Chrisean Rock talking about her family on Jason Lee is like opening Pandora's box and finding Cardi B inside." Another fan wrote, "I didn't think anything could outmess Blueface's Instagram lives." But this interview just did. It wasn't just fans either. The blog smelled blood and pounced. Headlines screamed about Chrisean exposing her mother, shading her sister, and casually roping Cardi B into the chaos. Within hours, the interview went from a clip on Jason Lee's platform to the biggest story in hip-hop gossip. And you know what? Chrisean didn't seem to care. She leaned into it, laughing, smiling, acting like she hadn't just detonated a cultural bomb in front of millions. The beauty and the disaster of Chrisean Rock is that she doesn't filter. She doesn't sit back and strategize. She speaks with the raw energy of someone who has lived through chaos and learned to weaponize it. Every word she dropped in that interview was a headline waiting to happen. Every name she mentioned became a trending topic. And every silence, every pause, every smirk gave the internet enough material to spin wild theories for days. By the end of the first half hour, Jason Lee didn't even need to ask hard questions. Chrisean was on autopilot, spilling tea like a leaky faucet. Jumping from family feuds to Cardi B alliances to Blueface secrets, like she was running a one-woman press conference of chaos. And fans, they couldn't look away. The same way people can't look away from a car crash on the highway, horrifying, but impossible to ignore. This wasn't just another celebrity interview. This was Chrisean Rock rewriting the rulebook on messy television. Forget scripted reality shows. This was raw, uncut, and 10 times more dramatic. By the time Jason wrapped up that segment, the damage was already done. The family drama was trending, Cardi B's name was trending, Blueface was trending, and Jason Lee had just scored the viral interview of the year. But here's the kicker. This was only the beginning. Because if you thought the initial bombshells were explosive, wait until you see what happened when the internet, the blogs, and the celebrities themselves started reacting. That's when the real storm hit. And nobody, not even Chrisean, was ready for how wild it would get. The second the interview clips hit Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, the internet did what it does best. It weaponized humor and chaos, like it was preparing for battle. Within minutes, the memes were rolling out like factory production. One viral post showed Chrisean holding a microphone with the caption, "This isn't an interview. This is a funeral for Blueface's career." Another meme had Cardi B's face photoshopped onto Judge Judy, gavel in hand, ready to rule, on whether she wanted to be dragged into this mess. But the funniest, and also the most brutal, a TikTok edit where Jason Lee leaned in dramatically, and instead of Chrisean answering, they spliced in an explosion clip, as if every word she said was a nuclear bomb. That video alone got millions of views before the end of the night. Then came the celebrity responses. Because of course, they couldn't stay quiet. Elisa Blueface's mom, who never misses a chance to hop into drama, fired off a string of Instagram lives longer than an HBO series. She blasted Chrisean for dragging her name, for lying, for being ungrateful. But here's the irony. Her rants only added gasoline to the fire. People weren't taking Carlos's side. They were screenshotting her, turning her into memes and mocking the family dysfunction like it was reality TV they didn't even have to pay for. Teseki, Chrisean's sister, wasn't silent either. She clapped back on Twitter with subtweets sharp enough to slice steel. "Funny how people rewrite history when cameras are rolling," she posted. No names, no tags, but everyone knew exactly who she meant. The replies went wild, sis. You don't need to subtweet. We already know the whole tree is burning. And then Cardi B's name trending. Oh, that was the internet's favorite twist. Cardi didn't even have to say a word. Fans flooded her socials demanding she respond. Some begged her to stay out of it. Others begged her to jump in. The fan wars between Cardi supporters and Chrisean's defenders turned Twitter into a gladiator arena. It was less about what Chrisean said and more about whether Cardi should even care. And the fact that Cardi didn't respond made it even juicier because silence on the internet is the biggest tease of all. Blueface, on the other hand, he couldn't resist. He hopped online with his usual half smirk, half scowl, talking about how Chrisean was still obsessed with him. But here's the kicker. Fans weren't buying it anymore. Instead of siding with him, they dragged him mercilessly, accusing him of being the villain origin story in Chrisean's saga. One fan wrote, "Blueface acting like he ain't the season finale villain in the Chrisean Rock series." Another added, "Sir, Your career was an extra in this interview. Relax. Even Jason Lee became part of the storyline. People praised him for asking the right questions, for holding space for the chaos, and some even accused him of knowing exactly what he was doing, which, let's be honest, he did. Jason doesn't just stumble into viral interviews. He engineers them like he's Dr. Frankenstein building the monster. And Chrisean Rock was the lightning bolt that brought it to life. But what made this escalation different from just another? Messy celebrity sit-down was the way fans started drawing bigger cultural lines. They weren't just laughing at the family feuds, they were debating whether Chrisean was the new face of unfiltered celebrity chaos. Some argued she was exploiting her trauma for clout. Others said she was bravely transparent in a world of fake PR robots. Either way, the fact that people were debating it meant she had the spotlight and she wasn't letting it go. By day 2, the memes had evolved into full-blown edits. TikTok creators were making Chrisean Rock cinematic universe clips, cutting together moments of her with Blueface, her fights with family, and now this Jason Lee interview as the dramatic climax. It was messy, it was ridiculous, and it was genius. Fans? Compared it to Love and Hip Hop if it were produced by Quentin Tarantino, bloody, loud, and unforgettable. But let's not pretend everyone was laughing. Behind the scenes, the fallout was messy in real life too. Blogs reported that family members were no longer speaking. Industry insiders whispered about Cardi B's camp being furious that her name was dragged into something she didn't sign up for. And Blueface. He doubled down with cryptic tweets about truth always coming, to light and clout chasing. Which, let's face it, it's ironic coming from the man who treats clout like oxygen. The escalation wasn't just about drama, it was about perception. For years, Chrisean Rock has been seen as the chaotic counterpart to Blueface's toxicity. But now, sitting across from Jason Lee, she flipped the script. She wasn't just the messy baby mama or the wild reality star. She was the headline maker. The storm, the unpredictable truth bomber. And whether people loved her or hated her, they were talking about her constantly. And that's the secret sauce in this whole thing: attention. In a world where trends die in 24 hours, Chrisean managed to dominate the timeline for days straight. That's not just scandal, that's power. But power always comes with consequences. And the question looming over this entire mess was simple. How long could she ride this wave before it came crashing down on her? The internet wasn't done, and neither was Chrisean. Cause while everyone was still reeling from the interview, she had already planted seeds for the next wave of chaos. And if you think the memes and celebrity clapbacks were wild, wait until you see the aftermath, where reputations, relationships, and public perception got shaken to their core. By the time the dust started to settle, the interview had already cemented itself as a pop culture moment. But the real chaos wasn't what happened in the studio with Jason Lee. It was the ripple effect afterward. That's where the fallout hit hard, like an earthquake with aftershocks, shaking every corner of the industry. For Chrisean's family, the interview wasn't just another headline. It was war. Koilissa went on a campaign of damage control that looked more like damage creation. Every time she jumped on Instagram Live to defend herself, she ended up handing Chrisean more ammo. Fans dragged her, saying she was proving Chrisean's point with every rant. One viral comment summed it up perfectly. Carlissa needs to log off before she makes the family tree collapse completely. Tessiki, meanwhile, leaned into her own spotlight. Suddenly, she wasn't just the sister in the background, she was front and center. Dropping cryptic tweets, shading Chrisean, and milking the moment for clout. It was like sibling rivalry on steroids, except the audience wasn't just the family, it was the entire internet. And the internet picked sides, like it was the Super Bowl. Some declared Chrisean the brave truth teller. Others called her messy beyond repair. But either way, her name never left the trending tab. Then, there was Cardi B, the queen of clapbacks, stayed silent, but her silence was louder than any diss track. The blogs ran wild with theories. Some insiders whispered that Cardi's camp was not pleased with her name being tied to the Rock Blueface saga. Others claimed Cardi was laughing it off in private. Fans begged for a response, but she didn't give them one. And in that, silence. The speculation turned into hysteria. One fan tweeted, "Cardi staying quiet is scarier than if she tweeted 50 insults. She's probably plotting in the shadows." But Blueface, he couldn't leave it alone. He launched into his usual marathon of lives and tweets, calling Chrisean out, painting himself as the victim, and trying to reclaim control of the narrative. But here's the twist. People weren't siding with him anymore. The internet's collective patience for Blueface ran out somewhere between his last arrest and his last diss. Now, instead of laughing with him, fans were laughing at him. Edits circulated with captions like, "Blueface watching Chrisean become more relevant than his whole career." And that's the aftermath in a nutshell, the power shift. For the first time in a long time, Chrisean wasn't just Blueface's ex, or the girl who fights on reality TV. She was the main character, the storm, the one controlling the narrative. That Jason Lee interview gave her something money can't buy, cultural capital. People couldn't stop talking about her, debating her, analyzing her. Some were horrified. Others were obsessed. But nobody was ignoring her. Of course, with great power comes great backlash. Critics accused her of exploiting her family drama for clout. Others said dragging Cardi B into the mess was a dangerous move that could backfire. Hard. And the industry? Quietly, they were taking notes. Labels, promoters, producers, they all know drama sells. And Chrisean Rock had just proved she could dominate the headlines without even dropping a song. That's both terrifying and brilliant. But the real question wasn't about her family or Cardi or even Blueface. It was about sustainability. Could Chrisean ride this wave into something bigger? A career renaissance, a brand reboot, maybe even mainstream dominance? Or would the chaos consume her, leaving her as just another viral cautionary tale? That's the cliffhanger fans couldn't stop dissecting. Some argued she was the next Cardi B, unfiltered, raw, authentic, and perfectly built for the internet age. Others swore she was the next reality star flame out, destined to burn bright and crash even faster. And Chrisean, she didn't seem worried either way. In her mind, chaos is the brand. And as long as people are talking, she's winning by week's end. The interview had spawned think pieces, reaction videos, podcasts, and Twitter threads longer than college dissertations. One YouTuber even compared the drama to Shakespeare, with Instagram filters, betrayal, loyalty, power struggles, all unfolding in front of millions. The wild part. They weren't wrong, and maybe that's why this moment hit so hard. It wasn't just about Chrisean Rock versus her family, or her versus Blueface, or her casually name-dropping Cardi. It was about how celebrity culture itself has mutated. The lines between personal life, entertainment, and scandal are gone. Now, your pain, your fights, your chaos, that's the product. She's learned to package hers better than most. So as the internet finally started to catch its breath, one thing became painfully clear. This wasn't the end of Chrisean's saga. This was just another chapter in a never-ending soap opera. That makes love and hip-hop look like Sesame Street. The only question left was who would get caught in the crossfire next. Would Cardi finally break her silence? Would Carlisa drop another unhinged rant? Would Blueface self-destruct trying to steal back attention? Nobody knows. And that's exactly why people will keep watching. Because in the world of Chrisean Rock, every day is a season finale. Messy, outrageous, and impossible to ignore. And there you have it, people. The circus, the chaos. The full-blown soap opera that makes Keeping Up with the Kardashians look like a Sunday school field trip. Chrisean Rock just detonated the internet, and if you thought this ride was over, oh no. The roller coaster hasn't even hit its first loop yet. Now, here's the deal. Don't just sit there acting like you weren't gagging at every twist of this story. Hit that like button like it owes you money. Smash that subscribe like you're trying to break Blueface's ego. And drop a comment because I know you've got opinions hotter than a frying pan in Hell's Kitchen. Tell me, is Chrisean a mastermind of mayhem or just stumbling into chaos with perfect timing? And if you think you've seen scandals before, think again. Around here, we don't just cover celebrity drama, we serve it up dripping in sarcasm, deep-fried in exaggeration, and delivered hotter than Cardi B's clapbacks. Because tomorrow, another celeb is going to self-destruct. And guess where you're going to hear about it first? Right here on the only channel bold enough to tell it like it really is. So, don't just watch from the sidelines, join the madness. Lock in with us because the next headline is probably being born in some chaotic Instagram live as we speak. This is Celeb Oro, the home of outrageous truth, savage storytelling, and the kind of drama you can't stream on Netflix. Until next time, stay messy, stay nosy, and remember, when the stars fall, we'll be right here to catch the wreckage. Boom, mic drop. Mic drop.